During this time, humans colonized the American and the Australian continents, and our biggest rivals, the Neanderthals, had vanished from Europe. Humans were the apex predator in the world. If you lived during this period, here's how your life would look like. You would hunt for a few hours every day, eat a nutritious meal packed with protein. Then you would do whatever you wanted for the rest of the day. You could explore a cave, daydream beside a river, or make flutes out of bones. There were no taxes. No kings, no borders, and no wars. You could go on a long adventure to distant lands like Frodo from Lord of the Rings. The Upper Paleolithic was also great because humans domesticated dogs during this time. Imagine living in a place where you are safe from wild predators, you have a secure source of food, and your city is designed perfectly. You have such good indoors plumbing that the world wouldn't have its kind until the 19th century. But you also don't have a king ruling over you. That's the Indus Valley Civilization. This civilization was located in modern-day Pakistan and western India. It popped up around the same time as Sumer did in Mesopotamia. But unlike Sumer, which was ruled by kings and priests, the Indus civilization didn't seem to have a class system. They disappeared from history not because of war, but because of climate change. The Indus River is said to have dried up and collapsed the civilization. What's the biggest sign that a civilization is wealthy and stable? When their people can dabble in science, philosophy, and art. Ancient Athens was one of those places. While the rest of Europe was still living in primitive houses and scattered tribal communities, the Athenians were building marble statues and discussing the best ways to run a society. In ancient Athens, it was common to find people debating philosophy on the side of the street. If you were wealthy, you could join a school. Your teachers could be none other than Plato, Aristotle, and Pythagoras himself. If you were poor, you could still watch a stage drama, join a gym, and vote. In ancient Athens, politicians were often deposed the moment they started getting too corrupt. For 200 years, the citizens of the Roman Empire enjoyed peace and stability. Paved roads connected different territories. You could travel from Egypt to France without getting harassed. As a merchant, you could get rich importing silk, peppers, and exotic animals from Asia and Africa. The Romans designed great cities and built infrastructures to provide water for their citizens. The Roman law ensured your rights as a citizen were protected. During the Middle Ages, the Abbasid Caliphate was one of the best places to live in. Muslims, Christians, Jews, and others lived in peace and prosperity. The average European at the time was living as a serf, meaning he worked all day on the king's land. He had enough food not to starve, and that was it. He couldn't leave or marry without the king's permission. It was slavery in disguise. But people in the Middle East could own land, trade, or participate in science and art. The Muslims translated Greek philosophy and science books, Persian poetry, and Indian medicine. All of them were contained in the library in Baghdad, called the House of Wisdom. They made progress in chemistry, physics, math, astronomy, and medicine. They had the world's first hospitals. The Song dynasty in China may have been the richest and most technologically advanced society on earth at the time. And it was kinda similar to the modern period. You could go to restaurants, theaters, or buy fast food and clothes at a shopping district. And you did all this with paper money. There were even printed advertisements. Thanks to cheap printing, you could buy lots of books. Literacy exploded in China during this period. As a peasant, you could even own your own land instead of just working for a lord. The Renaissance happened just after the worst pandemic in history, the Black Plague. The plague took the lives of 50% of the population of Europe, leaving farms and cities almost empty. This created a demand for workers. Suddenly, people had better salaries and living standards. They could become wealthy as merchants, craftsmen, and artists. People like Leonardo da Vinci and Michelangelo became millionaires by creating art. The printing press was invented during this time, making books more available to the masses. As literacy grew, people started to question the religious dogma that had plagued Europe during the medieval period. Scientists made new discoveries in medicine, physics, philosophy, and math. European states like Spain and Portugal started their colonies in the Americas, starting a European domination of the world. The last 80 years was arguably the most prosperous time in history. After World War II, countries around the world gained independence from the colonial empires. Many of them adopted some form of democracy. The world became more connected than ever, As a result, countries traded with each other and became wealthy. Since 1945, average human lifespan has nearly doubled in many countries. The world population was 2.5 billion in 1945, compared to the 8 billion now. More people have escaped extreme poverty in the last 80 years than in all previous history combined. The period after World War II saw the creation of the television, the internet, space travel, and social media. Today, the average person has more information at his fingertips than a king did a few centuries ago. We also have technologies that make our lives easier. However, this time of peace and prosperity ended with the COVID pandemic, which ruined the global economy. Then Russia invaded Ukraine. Ever since then, things have become worse. But why are some periods more prosperous than others? If we look at the patterns in history, we can see that there are two main reasons for this. Whenever a new superpower emerges, it establishes a new world order. This usually happens after a major war. The rest of the countries then have to comply with the superpower, leading to less wars and more cooperation. Trade flourishes as a result and people become wealthy. The other thing is, widespread information leads to a more literate society. In the Islamic Caliphate, everyone was encouraged to study and memorize the Quran from an early age. In the Song dynasty, books became cheaper due to low printing costs. During the Renaissance, the printing press was invented. Thousands of cheap books suddenly flooded people's homes. The same is true of the past 80 years. First, we had the television, and then the internet.